What is up, guys? It is Joe. We are back. We're talking ball about the Cats, specifically in the transfer portal here. Talking about the basketball side of things as we talk about three different prospects in the portal that enter the portal towards the end of the deadline. Three guys to watch for, three guys to consider. Now, the deadline to enter the portal was last night at midnight. You're watching this the day after, technically. As long as you had your paperwork officially submitted, you can enter the portal. So we should hear some more names over the next couple of days and trickle through the weekend, but basically, that Friday, Saturday is going to be where you hit the brick wall in terms of dudes to consider in the transfer portal. But that doesn't mean there aren't a bunch of great players out there still in the portal that I want to talk about. But before I do, let me tell you this. If you like the channel, if you like K-State Athletics, be sure and consider subscribing. It does help me out immensely as we continue to grow this channel here with all the awesome K-State fans. I appreciate each and every one of you supporting. It only takes a couple seconds out of your time, and it does help me out a lot, as well as pushes some of my content towards you. So if you're missing a video or you want to see a little K-State talk on your feed, it will help you out in that category as well. But let me start here. I've seen a lot of freaking out. I've seen a lot of people pushing the panic button 7 different times today. Not just today, but the last couple of days, basically saying, well, things aren't moving fast enough. The way this transfer portal cycle has been, you go a week without a commitment, and even in K-State's case, you go 3 days, I guess, without a commitment, people start to get uneasy. Why that is, that's just human nature. It is simple human nature. You want more excitement, you want more good things, you don't want to see the bad things. Today's video is going to be a big exhale. It's going to be multiple players to look at. I'll toss some highlights up and talk about specifics, but today's video is to pump the brakes on the freaking out a little bit. Guys, at the time you're watching this, it is May 2nd. It's the 2nd of May. 1 year ago, we had our first commit on this day. That was Tyler Perry. We still had to fill an entire roster. We have already added 4 studs to the transfer portal. You've had 4 great players heading to Manhattan. You have good dudes for depth, good dudes for starting spots, and more. So I just wanted to remind everybody and say this is just May 2nd. We have so much more time this offseason. There's going to be 1,000 different things that still have to happen. But today's video is specifically not just to distract you from the guys we are tied to, but I wanted to give you an update on those guys as well as some other people to watch over the next couple of months, over the next couple of weeks. You never know how fast this stuff goes. It could be 2 days, it could be 2 weeks. So, it's something that's pretty fluid. But Kansas State has been linked to Baba Miller from Florida State. Rutgers is Clifford Omier, and then Arkansas's Caleb Battle. Those are the 3 guys that we've mainly been linked to. I feel great about all 3. I don't feel perfect about any because it's recruiting and that's the way it goes, but I'm not putting more players in front of your face saying, look at these guys because, bad news with these guys. That's not what I'm doing. That is not the case. That's not what I'm trying to push you on. I'm just trying to say this. If the worst case scenario possibly happens and you somehow go 0 for 3, I think that is a very, 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 very low percentage chance happening. But in theory, if you do miss any of the 3, if you miss 1 of the 3, if you miss 2 of the 3, whatever the case is, there are still some absolute dogs in the transfer portal that Kansas State would be incredible to add. So I have 3 players I want to talk about specifically in today's video that entered towards the deadline to enter the portal. But once again, because I know how quickly these things can get lost, this video is not to try to distract you from potential bad news on the horizon. I have no access to that. I have no information on that front. I still feel great about Baba Miller, Cliff Omier, and Caleb Battle. I feel great about all 3, and that's the best answer I can give on those. I know that Caleb Battle's on campus at, I think, Gonzaga right now. He's between us, Gonzaga, Villanova. There's those 3. I still feel great. That's the most confidence I have of any of the 3. Baba Miller, I believe, is down to us and FAU. Clifford Omier, I got to tell you, I have no idea what's happening with that recruitment. I know there's a lot of different players in that process, but I know Kansas State feels good about where they're at with at least 2 of the 3, with most likely all 3. But as it sits right now, I just want to pull up some different guys to consider. But I have 3 players I'm going to talk to you about in today's video here, starting off with the first player that I've heard a lot of conversation about heading into the offseason. He was a freshman. He could have gone potentially NBA draft process, could have been one of those players. He was the co-freshman of the year in the Mountain West Conference. It seems like everybody and their brother had the idea of JT Toppin, the UNM forward, on their minds this offseason. He is the first player we're going to talk about in today's video. I'm going to toss some highlights up here from JT Toppin as we speak, so I'll get a little bit of information on that while you get to see the type of player he is. Now, JT Toppin, I should clarify because I had the question. I don't think he's related to either Obi Toppin or Jacob Toppin, so I don't think he's in that family, but same last name. JT Toppin, a 6'9", 210-pound freshman from Texas. Last season at UNM, he was a stud. I mean, he's a standout kid. He was one of the Lobos' best players. I watched actually a lot of UNM basketball because my dad's side of the family is all from New Mexico, big New Mexico people, so they're big Lobos fans. So I actually watched JT Toppin play a lot this season. In 36 games played, he averaged 27 minutes per game. He shot 34% from 3, specific numbers, because this is the great thing to see. As a freshman, the kid averaged 12.4 points and 9.1 rebounds per game. He shot 62.3% from the field, and like I said, he shot 34.4% from 3. And he's definitely a kid that should get into the conversation of maybe this kid should shoot more threes. I know he's a 6'9" forward, and you don't necessarily ask your forwards to always shoot threes, but he's a dude that definitely could. Now, JT Toppin, I don't know how much interest there is from Kansas State. I got to be honest, I don't know how much there is with any of these three dudes, but I do know that they're going to convey interest from a lot of great teams, and the staff is intelligent enough to know, hey, where are our problems at? We're going to focus here. We're going to focus here. With Arthur Kaluma recently entering the transfer portal, JT Toppin steps into the picture as a 4 guard. He also can be used as a 5. UNM did it a lot last season, and the kid can definitely play that position. The dude was a stud down the stretch. He played alongside a couple of great players in Jamal Mashburn and Devon House at UNM. So the squad was deceptively good. They were kind of in that NIT area with Kansas State this past season. But JT Toppin, coming out of high school, I should give you some high school stats here, rather than just rambling about the guy. Coming out of high school, he was a 4-star prospect in the class of 2023, the 111th ranked player, the 24th ranked player at his position, and the 9th ranked player in the state of Texas. Now, as it sits right now, after his freshman season, he is currently ranked as the 43rd ranked player in the portal and the 5th ranked power forward in his class, or in the transfer portal period, not just the class, but he is definitely a great basketball player and would be an awesome fit at Kansas State. ESPN's Fran Fraschilla talked about him actually on Twitter, and I thought it was an interesting conversation. So when he entered the portal on April 30th, he was a deadline guy. Fran Fraschilla talked about it and said, saw this young man play at Colorado State in January. My first thought was, unless there's a boatload of money at UNM, he's gone. That's the new normal. Now, yeah, I'm not here to make a life lecture about why the portal sucks or why the portal's awesome, whatever the case is. That's just the way it goes. You see a super talented player like that playing at kind of a mid-major area. I understand when you see guys and say, oh, that guy's going to the portal. But a 35 of 36 game starter for the Lobos, he is an absolute stud, averaged almost 2 blocks a game, and is a really, really talented guy. So he'll be someone to watch. I know there's going to be a lot of teams interested in JT Toppin, but he is someone to keep your mind on as a Kansas State fan. Now, moving on to our second player. Speaking of guys that, can play the 5, have played the 5, that are more power forwards, but they can play the 5. Here's a guy we're all familiar with. Miami's Norchad Omier. Now, the dude is an absolute dog. His numbers alone speak for it. His high school numbers alone speak for it. You saw him at Kansas State on the overseas trip this offseason, played against Kansas State. He is one of the nation's best rebounders. I mean, listen to these numbers here. Since his freshman year, obviously he played at Arkansas State, and he was a teammate of Desi Sills at the time. Kind of a fun little conversation. In his freshman season alone, the kid averaged 12.6 points and 12.3 rebounds at Arkansas State. Sophomore year at Arkansas State, 17.9 points and 12.2 rebounds per game. Then he transfers to Miami. You'd think, well, it's a jump in conference. It's probably a step down for him. The kid goes 13.1 points per game and 10 rebounds per game. And then in his senior season, he played in 31 games, averaged just about 30 minutes a game. He averaged 17 points per game, 10 rebounds per game, 1.2 assists per game, and shot 55.2% from the floor, as well as a career-best 35.3% from 3. Guys, Norchad Omier, I'm not going to beat around the bush. This is going to be a dude that is a top basketball player in the portal. He already is ranked as a top basketball player in the portal, and he's going to convey interest from teams across the nation. But Kansas State, if you're interested, this is a dude to go after. I know that some of our recruiting depends on what happens with Baba Miller, Caliph Battle, and Clifford Amori, but just for the sake of it, Norchad Omier would absolutely be like the best addition of any team in the offseason. Like, you go out there and you add a kid like that, that is a situation where it's like, this is our best dude in the portal. This is the best dude we added. The numbers line up to that too. Norchad Omier, as it sits right now, is the 6th ranked player in the portal and the number 1 player at the position, the power forward position. He's played a lot more center, so I don't want to make it sound like, he's a 100% power forward type guy, but he is definitely all that and more. Was a unranked player coming out of high school, actually, believe it or not. And after 4 seasons, obviously you see the numbers he had. He's never averaged less than 10 rebounds per game. He's never averaged less than 12 points per game. The dude is deserving of the hype. So Norchad Omier, I'm not sure which teams are in on him. I'm not sure who's too interested, but I know that everybody is interested. It's just about who can pull it off. So that is definitely a player to follow. We saw him all play, and he gave us buckets. I'm pretty sure he gave us 30 from what I remember. I could be completely wrong because it was super early in the season, but let me pull this up here. Kansas State, he had 23, 7, and 2 assists, So not 30, but dang close to it. The kid can absolutely play, and he would be an awesome, massive addition. This is a dude that, even though he's technically undersized for his position, maybe not at the power forward spot, you can roll with him as a 5. Absolutely. I mean, you average 10 rebounds a game. You can play him at the 5 just fine. He can be your lone guy. He's 6'7", 240 pounds, and he would be a massive guy to keep an eye on for everybody in the portal, but at Kansas State, he would be a stud. So he hit the portal. He's got, I think, 1 season left of eligibility. If you can kind of follow that Desi Sills path, come to Kansas State, this is still a guy that's going to average 15 and 10 for you. So that's the type of player Norchad Omier is, but he's definitely someone to keep your eyes on because he is an absolute monster. Now, the third player, I want to talk about him. I'm going to do it. This is me being selfish, and I'm going to do that because it's my YouTube channel. The third player I'm going to talk about in today's video is UTSA center Carlton Linguard Jr. You've heard the name, you know the name. The former Kansas State Wildcat under Bruce Weber. He had some back problems. He didn't ever get to play, the full healthy version. This past season at UTSA, he made it through the season, played 32 games, started 27 for the Roadrunners, and put up some good numbers, and he was every bit of that player that you hoped you were getting at Kansas State. He's in the portal right now. I've seen a bunch of different teams contact him, but he fits that perfect mold of the long, floor-spacing athletic big that Jerome Tang and company have looked for. He's 7 foot, 225 pounds. He's bulked up considerably since leaving Kansas State. I believe he was at the 195 rank, which is kind of crazy at Kansas State. He was 7 foot, 195. Now the kid's up to 225, and I do believe Coach Phil would do a little bit more of that, but he's definitely filled out his weight profile a little bit more. Like I said, he didn't really ever get to do much at Kansas State. His first year with the team, he averaged 6.5 minutes in 17 games played. His second year, 8.1 minutes over 15 games. Never really got to that potential. Last season at UTSA, he played 25 minutes a game, so a considerable upgrade from where he was at Kansas State. Averaged 9.3 points, 6.2 boards, 0.8 assists on 41.8% shooting from the field. And he put up some pretty dang good shooting numbers I want to talk about. I say pretty good, but volume-wise, impressive amounts of shooting numbers. So you can see in these videos that he's able to step out and shoot the three. He is a 4-5 type guy, but he's absolutely a center. And Jerome Tang, Kansas State, this is the type of player you can take back to your team and get the best out of him. Kansas State never really got to see that with Carlton Linguard just because of the back injury, because of his different health issues, but you saw the talent and the ability occasionally. We could absolutely bring that guy back to the light. I don't want to make it sound like he didn't last season, but he proved, hey, I can be healthy enough to get through. I can be a really good player down low, and he fits the perfect mold of what Jerome Tang wants out of his centers. So anyways, Carlton Linguard, 9.3 points, 6.2 rebounds. I know I already said that, but running it back from the free throw line, shot just under 80% at 79.2%. From three, he shot 30.6%, but I don't want to make that sound like that's bad. At your center position, you're shooting 30%. He shot 124 threes last year, connected on 38 of them. He absolutely can shoot it. He's got a good shooting motion. But the dude overall is just a solid player with a lot of upside that I know Jerome Tang and company could get the best out of. So something to consider. I am all for the reunion. I know there's going to be people in the comment section that are like, no, this is a stupid idea. Don't do it. Let's do it, man. I'm for it. I know that we still have recruitments to run, and this isn't a situation where I'm saying take him over anybody you're linked to now. That's not what I'm trying to say. But if you consider that idea of bringing back Carlton Linguard, put him on that 5-out offense. That's the type of player he can be. He can step out and shoot. That gives you the size of a 7 foot, 225-pound guy. And then you have Baba Miller right there around the same spot with 6'11", 220-ish. That would be awesome. You'd run out in transition. You'd beat a lot of teams. You'd gas a lot of teams. And I think that's something to consider. So Carlton Linguard, I know it's unlikely. I don't know if the staff's seeing it this way, but I would be all for the reunion. If Kansas State can pull it off, that would be sweet. But obviously, there's going to be more stuff that runs its course first. Where does K-State stand with Clifford Omier? Where does Kansas State stand with a couple of different guys? So I have confidence that the staff knows what they're doing. I wouldn't doubt that under any circumstance. But today's video, I just wanted to give you guys 3 guys that I'm pretty jacked up to see in the transfer portal. And if there's a potential spot to Kansas State with any 3 of these guys, I will let you guys know. As of right now, the staff's doing their thing. They've got their guys in their focus, so I'm not trying to suggest that these 3 have interest with Kansas State or vice versa, but just 3 players that I think would be really cool and worth a look. Every single one of these recruitments would be tough. I know JT Toppin's going to be tough. I know Norchad Omier is going to be a top 5 player in terms of what that recruitment looks like, but these are 3 guys I'm stoked about, and I just wanted to put that on your plate for today's video. But I just wanted to remind you guys because there's a lot of great players still out there. Don't lose the faith. Don't lose patience. The staff is cooking. Just wait to eat the meal. I promise you that. I will talk to you guys here soon. Thank you all for all the support. I love each and every one of you guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day. I will talk to you soon. Go Cats.